so happy that you're here. Sorry, I'm a little bit late because it's just one of those days. And I've been thinking about this story, one of the stories that I'm going to tell you about today, which is really, really, really upsetting. So I hate to start your day on a, something that's not positive. But it's about the SCOTUS executing a man that was seemingly innocent, an innocent black man in Missouri. We're going to talk about that. We also have the former president calling himself the protector of women. And then a lot of people responding to that, including Stacey Abrams of Georgia, Sarah Longwell, who is a Republican, but also is one of the founders of the Bulwark. And then we have some new ads from the Lincoln Project that we want to get you to. And then we'll show you the former president getting booed as he is making his way to some of his campaign events, okay? So we have a lot to talk about. MAGA pervs is one thing I want to dig in on as well. Because we have this guy who's like the school choice guy. He's a MAGA guy. And then he's talking about, values and all those kinds of things. And then guess where they discovered that he had been doing some gay porn, okay? But not that there's anything illegal about that. Whereas, again, it's just hypocrisy. And then the crime, things are getting better as it relates to the economy and crime and all those things. But the folks over at Fox News and the MAGA people just cannot wrap their heads around it. They're upset. We have an update on Chappell Roan. And then I have this video of someone who says, wink, wink, that they are Mark Robinson's campaign manager. And wait till you see exactly what they have to say about it. Okay. You're going to have some fun. I hate to say, I hate that word, piss you off, but I'm going to upset a lot of you this morning just from the first story and maybe the second story as well. So let's talk about this Missouri man. This Missouri man was convicted of breaking into a woman's home, repeatedly stabbing her. He was executed Tuesday over the objections of the victim's family and the lawyer who actually prosecuted the man. Now think about what I said. Over the victim's lawyer and the man who actually prosecuted prosecuted the man. They think he is innocent. They think that the evidence against him was tainted and wrong. His name is Marcellus Williams, because they executed him. He was 55 years old, was convicted in 1998 of killing Leisha Gale, who was stabbed during the burglary of her suburban St. Louis home. Now, yesterday, again, despite the objections of the 3 liberals on the U.S. Supreme Court, the MAGA majority, this is why it's so important who's president and who gets to decide who gets to be on the Supreme Court. The MAGA majority denied him a stay of execution and sent him to death. A video that gives you some context. Here it is.
55 minutes at 6 p.m. Central Time, Marcellus Williams here is going to die, be executed for a crime he did not commit. In addition to the lack of DNA evidence, forensic evidence, the prosecutor who brought this case in the first place believes that Marcellus is innocent and that his rights were violated. The family of the victim does not want him executed. And people have been begging and imploring the state of Missouri and Governor Mike Parsons to step in, and they won't. And so today was the last-ditch effort with the United States Supreme Court. And it just came down a few minutes ago that the U.S. Supreme Court also will not step in. Of the 9 justices, the 3 that were appointed by Democratic presidents all voted to block the execution, whereas the other 6 who were appointed by Republican presidents voted for it to proceed as planned. Y'all, this is truly a miscarriage of justice. An innocent man being put to death for a crime he did not commit. Being executed for a crime where the prosecutor has admitted that he's likely innocent, and where the victim's family doesn't want him put to death. That is not justice. And it goes against everything that the American justice system is supposed to stand for. It is beyond unfair. There is nothing we can do about it. And as far as I'm concerned, the state of Missouri is committing murder.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that? Look, there are a couple of things here. How do you feel about the death penalty overall? But then, how do you feel about this apparent lack of evidence and not wanting to go back and look at the evidence? And that it was all done on party lines, along party lines. Every single MAGA judge on the Supreme Court said execute this man, even though the prosecutor, the lawyer who prosecuted him, right? Now, who would have more information than the lawyer who prosecuted him? Because that was a task of the lawyer who prosecuted him, is to find all the negative information, all of the incriminating information. And now this lawyer is saying, we don't believe that was right. We have new information. We've come to know some things since we prosecuted him. And we believe that this is wrong. And of the woman who was the victim and died in this, the family of that woman saying, this is not the guy. This is Marcellus Williams in his own words before he was executed.
Allah determines, you know what I'm saying, I'm satisfied with it. Whatever, you know, so I already been right there at that moment. And I, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing changed about it. You know, I'm still, like I said before, I don't believe in the system, the criminal justice system. I don't believe in it, you know what I'm saying, to that degree. But I know that it can be used for good as well. So if good come out of it for me and for my family and for all those that's been supporting me, then all praise be to Allah. There's a little supplication that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he used to say, oh Allah, if life is good for me, then give me life. If death is good for me, then give me death. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I say the same supplication. So yeah, I'm at peace, of course.
GB in the comments says, why didn't they listen to the family? GB, it's all politics. And we are 43 days away from an election, around that. And people are deciding on, you know, who they're going to vote for based on, you know, information. Oh, well, just, you know, things like, well, I don't like this. I think there's some change. And then when you show them the evidence that there is change, they don't want to hear it. And then they're voting on, there's these one issue voters that are not thinking about the overall picture as it relates to the Supreme Court and having mainly conservative judges on the court. Now, if the court was balanced and even, that is not a big deal. That's kind of, you want the pull, the yin and the yang of the court. But you don't want the court to be skewed in one certain way. In a statement after the execution, one of Williams' attorneys, his name is Larry Comp, said his client maintained his innocence to the end. And this is a quote. He said, while he would readily admit to the wrongs that he had done throughout his life, he never wavered in asserting his innocence of the crime for which he was put to death tonight, Comp said. Although we are devastated and in disbelief over what the state has done to an innocent man, we are comforted that he left this world in peace. Now, again, I'm sorry this morning that I'm starting you and I'm giving you such sad news, but this is the state of the world. These are the topics that people are talking about. This is what you should be talking about, and this is what you should be considering as you're deciding, you're talking to people and they're saying, oh, you know, I don't, you know, this tax and this, that, or whatever. Nothing is more important than life. And you want someone who's going to be on the Supreme Court who supports life. So you want to talk about supporting the right to life? That's the right to life, especially if you're innocent and then you've been in jail since the late 90s, early 2000s. Wow. Moments after the High Court's decision was made, another of Williams' attorneys, Tricia Rojo Bushnell, told CNN's Jake Tapper that the state was prepared to kill an innocent man. They will do it even though the prosecutor doesn't want him to be executed. The jurors who sentenced him to death don't want him executed. The jurors who sentenced him to death don't want him executed. Let me read that again. They will do it even though the prosecutor, the person who prosecuted him, doesn't want him to be executed. The jurors who sentenced him to death don't want him to be executed. And the victims themselves don't want him to be executed. We have a system that values finality over fairness. And this is a result that we get from that. What do y'all think of that? I think it's outrageous. It's sad. It's inhumane. And if you claim to be a Christian or a believer, then this should go against everything that's within your being and your beliefs. By the way, you know, everyone has a last meal, right? When this happens, his last meal included chicken wings and tater tots. I'm sorry that this happened to you, Mr. Williams. I'm sorry that it happened to the victim back in 1998. But rest in peace, sir. Rest in peace. And perhaps that this will help people to realize that what they're doing, if they're thinking about sitting it out or they're waffling or wavering on who they should support come November, this will help them make a decision. Hopefully, this will help them make a decision. Okay. So let's talk about from former President Donald Trump to Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Morero. Male Republican candidates are really struggling in this season, this election season. They're struggling to speak to female voters using language criticized as tone deaf and patronizing as they try to win support from women to speak to the issues that are important to women. So it's interesting because Republicans, and especially the MAGA folks, they can't help from being sexist and misogynist, and they can't help from being racist, right? They just don't know how to open their mouths and not be those things. On Monday night, Donald Trump cast himself as, and I quote here, the protector of women, saying in Battleground Pennsylvania, saying that he will save them from fear and loneliness, and they will no longer have to think about abortion. Okay, so they're no longer going to have to think about abortion. He's going to save them from loneliness and fear. Now, what does that mean? They're no longer going to have to worry about abortion. Does that mean they won't be able to get an abortion? Does it mean that he's going to put that subject to rest? They're not going to have to think about it? Because that whole issue that, you know, they use that one word, abortion, and I don't really like that word. I like unintended pregnancies or untenable pregnancies. But guess what it is? It's not just that. It's women's reproductive health. Women in the comments, women watching, you know that. And then this Bernie Morero talking about women over 50. Think about that. Women of all ages need reproductive health. They need their own personal medical health. They go to doctors for different reasons. This is coming from a man who was found liable for sexual assault, which the judge says is akin to rape. This is a man who says he's going to protect women. This is a man who says he's going to grab women by the pussy, right? But he's going to be your protector. This is a man who wants to take reproductive rights away from women, but he's going to be your protector. Okay, Donald Trump. And I have a bridge to sell you. This is Donald Trump in Pennsylvania calling himself the woman protector.
Women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, I'm here because Donald Trump raped me.
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, it is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're gonna just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah. You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women. I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. Killing Roe v. Wade.
From the Seneca Project. Now, is this the man that you believe is going to be the protector for women? Come on. Sarah Longwell, over at the Bulwark, one of the founders of the Bulwark, is a woman who is clear-eyed and clear-headed, and she is a traditional, old-school Republican, right? One with some values and morals and integrity. This is how she responded.
Believe this, that courage is contagious, right? Doing the right thing, speaking out against Trump, that's contagious, and that's how you build a permission structure. But you can also build a negative permission structure, because cowardice is also contagious. And this is the story of the last decade of the Republican Party. When Donald Trump, that Access Hollywood tape and the way that people handled that, it should be studied forever, because this was a case of in the immediacy of it. I remember Paul Ryan saying, well, I'm not going to appear with this guy. You know, Republicans ran from him quickly. They began pulling their endorsements from him. And then you know what they did over time when he refused to apologize or back down, just said it was locker room talk? They came back to him. And the story of the last, now getting close to a decade, is a story of Donald Trump doing the most repugnant, morally horrible things, and for Republicans time and time causing an insurrection, getting all of these felony counts, all of it. Republicans time and time again have chosen the cowardice permission structure and said, we're going to go back to Trump. And as a result, the entire, everybody has decided now, none of this stuff matters. But again, I go back to looking at the way that women are running from this campaign with everything they have. It does make me hope. My most fervent hope is that Donald Trump loses this election, and that he does it because women turn out in droves to vote against him, including center-right women, because that is just the kind of justice that Donald Trump deserves.
Sarah Longwell. Amen. Sarah Longwell is 100% right. And I love that she uses the term that I like to use. That is in droves. You have to turn out this election season and vote in droves, where it's irrefutable from state to state, especially in Georgia and other states where they're trying to take away your vote, where they're trying to move the election to a certain direction. That means in the direction of MAGA. There's a poll up that says, will Donald Trump be the prosecutor of women? Vote. Just about 300 of you have voted. Make sure you hit the thumbs up this morning, okay? So not only is Sarah Longwell responding, but someone who is also very direct in her words, and she does not really hold back, right? She doesn't couch anything. And that is leader Stacey Abrams of Georgia. She's also on Morning Joe, or over on MSNBC and Morning Joe, talking about this whole BS that Donald Trump is going to be the protector of women. Watch.
This is entitled "The Woman Killed by the Dobbs Decision," and it reads in part, "Some tragedies are impossible to prevent or even to predict. The death of Amber Nicole Thurman was not. She was perhaps the first woman killed by the overturning of Roe v. Wade. She tried to get her appointment, got caught in traffic. They prescribed her abortion pills, and I continue back home. Thurman's bleeding would not stop. She went to the hospital at 6:51 p.m. on August 18th, and medical examinations showed all the classic signs that her abortion was incomplete and that the tissue remaining inside her was poisoning her blood. But doctors did not give her a DNC, nor did they do so the next morning. As her condition worsened, when she was finally taken to the operating theater at 2 p.m., her condition was so bad that doctors started to remove her bowel and uterus, but it was too late. Thurman's heart stopped on the operating table. Stacey, Donald Trump brags about overturning Roe. He also says he's the protector of women. Your thoughts, given this reporting?
This notion that health care should be determined state by state is an abomination. What we saw happen to Amber Thurman is that she went to a state where it was legal to get health care. And when she returned to Georgia, because of Donald Trump, because of Brian Kemp, she could not get treatment. The doctors who could have saved her life did not know that they had the right to do so because she crossed state lines to come back to Georgia. We cannot have 50 different sets of health care in this country. We need one set of rules for women so that no matter where we are in terms of geography, we are still Americans who are entitled to health care, entitled to the sanctity of our bodies, and entitled to survive a decision to control our futures.
Gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. I feel like I'm just, it's just bad news. So don't hold it against me. It is what it is. I hope you guys understand that I've got to do what I got to do. I have to tell you all these things. Okay. So I'm sorry that that happened, that I'm doing this morning. But here's the thing. This is why it's important. And I don't know if you heard the story about the Vice President, Kamala Harris, who is now saying that she wants to support the filibuster, right? So that they can get women's reproductive rights. Like they can get Roe v. Wade codified. Okay. That means written into law where you cannot overturn it. And so she wants to do that. And there is a call for her speaking about why she wants to do it. And then we'll talk about it. But this is what's on the line. Here's the Vice President.
Within our reach to hold on to the majority in the Senate and take back the House. And so I would also emphasize that while the presidential election is extremely important and dispositive of where we go moving forward, it also is about what we need to do to hold on to the Senate and win seats in the House. That being said, I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
So interesting, because they're saying that she's not doing interviews. That was an interview on a Wisconsin radio station where she talked about that. She pledged to restore the right to abortion through legislation. This is a Wisconsin radio station. She said eliminating the filibuster, which let me explain this. So the filibuster goes back forever, right? I mean, since I was actually at went to dinner with some folks last night. And Steve Ratner, I don't know if you know Steve Ratner, he's the economist over on MSNBC, and he was explaining to the folks at dinner what the filibuster was and why, what the vice president was trying to do and whatever. It was very interesting to hear it. So, the vice president wants the filibuster is like a 60 vote threshold in a 100-seat upper chamber of the U.S. Congress. It could be necessary to codify the rights of Roe v. Wade. What she wants to do, instead of making it a 60 vote threshold, she wants to make it a 51 vote threshold because she believes, and others, that the filibuster actually gets in the way of anything real being accomplished, right? The threshold was so high for Obamacare or for healthcare for all, not really healthcare for all, but to come up with a healthcare system where people can sort of pay into it or whatever, to get Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act done. It took them forever to do it, right? They had to twist arms and whatever. It just took them forever to do it. And so now they're trying to codify, the vice president would like to codify and put into law a woman's right to choose. And the 60 vote threshold, especially now with the Maga majority and these, far right conservative folks in the Congress and the Senate, or in Congress and the Senate, all of it together. Remember, the Senate, Congress, all together, it's called the Congress, right? So they think it's too tough to do with a 60 vote majority and the filibuster. There are people who are old school saying, no, we can't change it. It is the hallmark of the U.S. Senate. We should not be doing these things. Listen, Kamala Harris was a senator. She knows. After that, Joe Manchin, who said that he was previously said that he was going to support Vice President Kamala Harris, said he withdrew his support. He said, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin is a former Democrat who left the party this year to become an independent, said that he would not endorse her candidacy because of her pledge. He says, this is a quote, "Shame on her who is retiring." He's retiring from the Senate. He said, "She knows the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy. It is the only thing that keeps us talking and working together. If she gets rid of that, then this would be the House on steroids." Now, I don't know if she's trying to get rid of it. I think she's trying to change it. Instead of a 60 vote majority, she wants the filibuster to be a 51 vote majority, right? Or just trying to make it a 51 vote majority. But I think when you say you want to get, if you want to change it from a 60 vote majority, what I think is that it's negotiable. Maybe they take it down to 50, maybe they compromise. Instead of 51, they go to 55 or what have you. But that's what she wants to do, so that they don't end up with things, with a woman's reproductive rights, a woman's freedom, women's freedom being on the line. Now, we saw that ad from the Seneca Project talking about Donald Trump wanting to be a women's protector. This is something that the Lincoln Project, they go hard. And they really get to the nitty gritty in a way that is consumable, bite-sized, right, for the TikTok and the social media generation, so that you can understand what's on the line. This is from the Lincoln Project about Trump, the trash that he is selling, and him just sort of being a, what do you want to, not really a snake oil salesman, maybe in some way, like, but he's just basically busking as a politician. Look up what busking means, but go on. Here's selling trash from the Lincoln Project.
Hustles, dirty little scams, crappy condos and resorts, fake universities, inedible steaks.
Trump steaks are by far the best tasting, most flavorful beef you've ever had.
Gas station vodka. Trump selling trash is nothing new. Now, it's even more sleazy. Crappy sneakers from China.
It's Donald Trump's latest money-making scheme.
That's the real deal.
Trump-branded Bibles.
Donald Trump announced a deal to endorse a $60 God Bless the USA Bible.
Bitcoin Ponzi schemes and NFTs.
His own crypto exchange platform.
He'll turn the White House into a pawn shop, selling garbage to rubes from the Oval Office.
Let's start with those Maga hats. They come from China.
Trump and his family made billions off his presidency. He's back for more. He's a charlatan, a snake oil salesman, a fraud, and unfit for office.
Lincoln Project. So I think the word that I was looking for, charlatan, that's good, but also busking as well. Busking is like when you see someone on the street, basically it's like a panhandler, right? And you're singing and you're asking for donations. That's what he's doing. He's just singing and going, oh, give me some money, give me some money. He can't help himself. He can't help himself. He just loves money, right? And that's why we are in this whole era that we're in, where the only thing that matters to most people is money. Money's important, right? You need it to survive. You need all of those things. But the most important thing is money. That is what's the era that we are in now. This is worse than Greed is Good back on the movie Wall Street days. We've moved beyond that. Basically, Donald Trump is busking as a politician and begging people for money. But not just that, y'all. He's also getting booed. Here he is getting booed. Donald Trump on the road getting booed. Now, there's no denying that. Sometimes you can deny that it's a boo, like when you go to the games and you're like, oh, some people are booing, some people are yay. There were no yays, there were no woos. That was all boos. And that's in South Carolina, which is the South, which is pretty red. And Donald Trump is getting booed there. Boo. Maybe they're booing him saying that he's going to be the protector of women. Maybe they were booing what we showed you in the video, that he's basically selling trash, and that he is a charlatan. And, you know, I want to call him a busker. Okay, so y'all, why are GOP men so creepy? And not even just, mostly it's just the MAGA ones, right? But they're the repressed ones in the GOP too. But the MAGA ones are really, really creepy lately. And then you've got the creepy ladies too. You've got the Lauren Boeberts, right, doing her thing in the theater. You got the what's her name, Lara Lunar. Like, you got all of these like creepy people, but you really got some creepy dudes. Remember, when I speak, I know from which I speak. Remember, we were just covering the black Nazi He's a self-professed black Nazi in North Carolina saying, you know what, I want to be a black Nazi. He may end up losing North Carolina for Donald Trump. So you have that guy. And remember, we've got Matt Gaetz. But there's a new guy. But let me just explain to you the Matt Gaetz thing. Remember, we have Matt Gaetz. There's a new court filing that says that Matt Gaetz attended the sex party with a 17-year-old. The affidavit was sealed. There were eyewitness testimony that the party was held at a Florida home of the lobbyist Chris Dorworth, who's a friend of Matt Gaetz. There was some shady stuff about Chris Dorworth, someone involved in this tried to get this removed and did for a while, and then it came back. They were part of the civil lawsuit brought by Dorworth in 2023, ultimately dropped the lawsuit, but Dorworth's attorneys filed the documents in federal court to try to recoup legal fees, okay? So now we have Matt Gaetz, now we have this filing. And then we have this new guy. This new guy's name is Corey DeAngelis. He is a conservative education reform advocate who has espoused anti-LGBTQ sentiment. Now keep that in mind, anti-gay sentiment, okay? He was exposed for his past involvement in gay adult films. Now, we had some of the video of the gay adult films, not that part, it's just him in there. We're not showing you the explicit part. I'm not going to show you, but I wanted to put it on, and my producer said, no, I wouldn't do that. But anyways, most of these films are him with a bunch of guys, all sort of like at a frat house, pleasuring themselves. Now, I don't know if there are other things, but that's the ones that are in the reports that I have seen. And these are legitimate reports. I'm not telling you anything. I'm not like, combing the bowels of the internet for some creepy. This is all reports. This revelation has triggered widespread accusation of hypocrisy online, given DeAngelis' longstanding public stance against LGBTQ plus rights and inclusion. So here he is. This is the thing. This is from People magazine. Right-wing anti-LGBTQ plus education activist exposed as former gay adult film actor. And it's a report, but you don't just need the evidence is there. We have eyes. We can see. So I didn't go digging around, but there are reports that have the pictures, the PG pictures. I don't know if are they PG or they are. You don't see anything explicit, but you just see like they're naked. They show you from the above the chest or above the pelvis or whatever. But you get the point of what's going on in these films. He's a self-described school choice evangelist, a senior fellow at the American Federation for Children, and a frequent Fox News contributor. Through the organization, though the organization has scrubbed his website of DeAngelis, his career was primarily focused on promoting school choice, criticizing public education for allegedly indoctrinating children with woke ideologies, including the support of LGBTQ plus rights. It's how many times do I have to tell y'all? It's always the ones who speak out the loudest. It's always the ones who are yelling and screaming about, oh my God, these gay people, these trans people, they're sinners, and it just goes against God, and it's just deplorable, and all those things that they say. All of that is always a tell. They're always telling on themselves. So he says that Democrats, right, are trying to indoctrinate children into woke ideologies, including the support of gay rights. However, it has now emerged that recently, this is a 2014, in 2014, as recently as 2014, DeAngelis performed in gay adult films under the pseudonym Seth Rose, including a scene in which he won a group masturbation project. Okay, so anyways, if he wants to do that, that's his business. He was an adult of a certain age. If he was of legal age and he wants to do that, that is his business. But he's out there in the same kind of films that he's accusing Democrats of indoctrinating children into. Now, this is him talking about school choice, just so you get an idea of who he is. This is who he is on Fox Business. Watch. This is Corey DeAngelis.
Now, Corey, just beyond being hysterical, what does she mean by winning all the things? What are all the things?
Well, the basics aren't included in all the things. Our math, reading, and writing scores are down the drain. They're in the gutter, not getting any better. Look, they're asking for more money, obviously, but Becky Pringle, the head of the NEA right here, she just pulled the Dwight Schrute, is totally unhinged lunacy. And look, parents and grandparents at home, do you want this person raising your kids for 7 hours a day? Obviously not. You got to fight for school choice, defund this person. She makes over $500,000 a year to spew this garbage, and she wants to fight to control the minds of other people's children, and that's bad news for this country. But the good news is parents are seeing this crap. The sunlight is the best disinfectant, and parents are pushing for school choice, money following the child.
Yeah, but bottom line is all the things, is all the DEI stuff that she's putting at least equal to, if not above, getting good reading and math scores, right?
Right, they're focused more on the LGBTs than the ABCs, and they want more money. They want to indoctrinate your kids, not to educate them. And so, look, this is why this is free advertising for homeschooling and school choice. So hopefully we continue to play this clip on repeat.
Okay, so many things, guys. First of all, if I'd seen that clip of him, I'd be like, oh. Before I saw the movie thing, I would have been like, who's that? He's advocating against LGBT? Come on. My gaydar was pinging on that one. Yeah, I said it. The other thing is, like, you know, these aren't the people you want advocating school, you know, your kids or whatever. Well, I guess even now, these aren't the things. By the way, no, they're taking this stuff down. The workers are right there. By the way, these are not apparently he's not, because they've scrubbed him from the website and basically they have disavowed him. They're more focused on the LGBT instead of the ABC. That's what he said, okay? They're more focused on the LGBT instead of the ABC. He was obviously more focused on the LGBT and some other stuff instead of the ABC. And they're always telling on themselves, I'm telling you guys, if you have anybody in your life who is extremely homophobic, I hope you guys aren't finding this distracting. I think it's funny. In my home studio, they're working, I told you, repointing the bricks. And so there it is. If you have anyone in your life who is that adamantly homophobic or that adamantly against anything, usually it means that that's what they are. Thou doth protest too much. Every person I know, every one of my straight friends or heterosexual friends who are completely comfortable with their sexuality have no compunction about someone being gay. They're just like, I'm not gay, so I'm not going to be that. You be you. Would you like to go to dinner, Don? You're gay. Okay, fine. Hey, let's go have a beer. Let's go have a drink. Why don't you invite your husband? We have so many friends, and our conversations are no different than when we go out with our gay friends, because they are completely confident in their sexuality, their manhood, their masculinity, or whatever it is. Their wives are completely confident that he's not like going to be hitting on us at dinner. That's like, so because they know they're not that. But anybody who is like that guy, I'm telling you. Also, my other thing, it is the shortest line to the front. So because he's like, I'll get in on the school choice and I'll talk about being woke and I'll talk about indoctrinating kids. I'll talk about all these things. I'm this clean cut guy who looks kind of gay. I'm just saying, I'm right. What is gay, right? What does that look like? I get it. It's the shortest line to the front, because he would just be an average Democrat if he were to use that in order to, as his ambition to get to whatever he wants. He would just be one of thousands of people. But then, when he's a MAGA person, he's all of a sudden, oh, we've got this clean cut guy, whatever. I'm I'm telling you, it's the shortest line to the front. Now, there's another. So you had the creepy guy, right? We talked about Mark Robinson. We talked about Matt Gaetz. We talked about the work having outside of my window. And then we also talked about this guy. But then there's this John McEntee. I don't know if you know him. John McEntee is known as the date right guy. He was a former body man for Donald Trump, and then he left, I think, in some sort of scandal. He's also the guy who's sort of the spokesperson and behind this Project 2025. So according to, he's a former aide, leave that picture up while I read this. He's a former aide to Donald Trump's presidential administration, a senior advisor to Project 25. He's in trouble for sending creepy internet messages to teenagers. Another MAGA creepy person. John McEntee, who also co-founded the conservative dating app, the Right Stuff or Date Right. Do you guys know what that is? He is the guy who'll go, why do Democrats who want you to vote for Kamala, he says Kamala, want you to vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman, but then they can't define what a woman is? And then he's eating, right? And then he goes, got it. It's that guy, okay? John McEntee also co-founded the conservative dating app, The Right Stuff, when he's the date right guy, sent messages to multiple young women, offering in some cases to give them free trips to Los Angeles. Now, remember, Diddy did some stuff like that, but I think his was like across, country lines or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not saying that they had anything, right, that he participated in anything that was illegal, but that was some of the allegations against Diddy, like offering to pay for people to come to there. So anyways, sent messages to multiple young women, offering in some cases to give them free trips to Los Angeles and making sexual advances. That is what Wired reports. The app's sole investor is right-wing billionaire Peter Thiel, who's a gay man, openly gay, just saying. Also supports, remember, Peter Thiel is the money behind J.D. Vance. He's J.D. Vance's benefactor, political benefactor. It has been criticized for its mostly male user base. One of the women, Grace Carter, said that McEntee reached out to her through Instagram in October last year when she was 18 years old, a freshman at North Carolina State. McEntee used the business account of The Right Stuff to message Carter, asking if she wanted free merchandise. He then began inviting her to join him on trips. Another woman who asked to remain anonymous said that when she was 18 over text, he sent her clearly identifiable selfies and began mentioning explicit sexual acts that made her uncomfortable and encouraged her to come to California. It was very sexual from day one, she said. He kept making comments about my age and how hot it would be to sleep with someone who was my age. People, don't be repressed. Just be who you are. Don't hide behind conservative and don't hide behind those things. Just come out and be who you are. I'm not saying that McEntee is gay, but I'm saying that there's some weird repression going on where he pretends to be one person to the public and then he's something else behind the scenes. Be your whole integrated you. So Matt Gaetz, this DeStefanos, what's his name again? Corey DeAngelis, Mark Robinson, and then John McEntee. Creepy. MAGA creeps. I can't wait to tonight. Sunny Hostin's on Live at 5. Sunny Hostin, the co-host of The View, and my dear friend is on Live at 5. I can't wait to talk to her about these MAGA creeps. What is going on with these MAGA creeps? There, a lot of them are in denial. And speaking of being in denial, by the way, that blue, I'm so glad that blue covering that was on the windows from them working on them to keep that. They kept the dust out. My apartment no longer looks like the inside of a cruise ship, unlike the windows that are underwater or whatever, or at, just above sea level, because it was all blue. Everything was blue in the house, everything. Okay, so they're in denial. You know who else is in denial? Conservatives and MAGA folks, again, as it relates to crime, right? Because the economy is improving, and they're like, oh my gosh, they've got to like shit on the economy because that's all they have. They can just talk about how bad prices are, but they don't have anything else. But by all metrics, the economy is firing. Prices are coming down as we head into the election. Okay, but you know what else is down? And and there are all these lies about crime, right? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't random and that we don't have issues, because we certainly do have issues, and they're very concerning to me here in New York City. And I think that, especially there are people who are unhoused, as they say, or homeless, and they have issues. Some of them are violent, but usually homeless people are usually the victims more often of violence than they are the perpetrators. But there are some people who should be in institutions and on medication, and they're not because they're on the street. But violent crime was down by about 3% from 2022 to 2023. You would think that it was up, right? And remember that it went up during COVID because people were desperate, right? So, but from COVID, 2021, it was up, and it was actually continued to go down from 2022 to 2023. Property crime took a similar drop, 2.4%. The FBI reported in its annual summary of crime in the nation. The most serious crimes went down significantly. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter were down an estimated 11.6%, the largest single year decline in 2 decades, while rape decreased by an estimated 9.4%. Okay, so keep those numbers in mind. Okay, let's just play this. Keep those numbers in mind. This is do I want to play the denial first, or do I want to play them talking about it? Let's play the denial from Fox News first, because they just can't handle it. Here it is.
Murder capital of the country, New Orleans, is not included. Chicago, not included.
New York City,
LA, not
Los
included.
Angeles.
Besides all the major metropolitan areas with all the homicides, everything else is fine.
That's it.
Things move very quickly across the internet. But these FBI statistics leave room for questions, because there are a lot of cities, major cities like Los Angeles, that are not providing that information.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I just...
That's not true.
Because we looked this up. I've heard this before. The FBI addressed this today. Those major cities now are reporting their crime statistics. So,
but they didn't in 23 on these numbers. When you go to the FBI website, they're not there, especially for homicides in LA.
Let me answer what you're saying. So now they do. Los Angeles, New York, all the major cities, any city with over 1 million people, those police departments report into these statistics.
Across the board. And it's important to point out, because you'll hear Donald Trump and others say, well, big cities are left out of this FBI data. That's not true. It was true in 2021 when they changed the way they collected the data. This data set includes every city of more than 1 million people, and it covers 94% of the U.S. population. Now, there are different ways of measuring crime, and there's a Justice Department victim survey that tries to capture crime that wasn't reported to police, and that shows some different numbers. But overall, it agrees that violent crime right now is about the same level it was in 2019 before the pandemic. And that survey doesn't measure murder. Murder, the drop is really is remarkable. And every murder is counted in the United States. There are no hidden murders. So it's really some remarkable good news. And it's distressing that people don't agree on the facts, because the facts are right out in front of us, Chris.
They can't handle it. And so when I was out on the streets yesterday interviewing people and just talking, because I like to do my one-man focus group, and I like to just go out and talk to people. And they were bringing all of these things up, the crime and all of that. And I was just like, you guys, that's not actually what the facts show. And I think it's because obviously people are listening to entities like Fox News. And they're also, it has a lot to do with online, digital, streaming, podcasts, all of those things where there are no editorial controls and mechanisms for the truth. And so people just believe, and it also has a lot to do, again, with, as I said, social media, especially social media that caters to right-wing extremist conspiracies and lies. that push you into that algorithm, whose algorithms push you into that direction, where people don't believe facts. And so they start believing what they see on the news and not necessarily what's actually happening. Okay. So as I say, always don't fall for the okie doke. Pay close attention to what's going on. Don't believe everything you read. Okay. I just want to update you on a few things. Number one, a serious story that I need to update you on, and that is the Diddy Combs situation. By the way, again, last night at dinner, I was someone who was very close person, a person who worked very closely with Diddy. And this is an interesting conversation. I won't share the details, but there's a lot of trouble there. Okay, so there's a new Diddy accuser, though. And you know Diddy is in jail. Apparently, according to reports, he's on suicide watch, and also saying that he is not eating because he's paranoid. Again, these are reports. He's paranoid that he's going to be poisoned in jail. And guess who he's in? You guys know who he's in jail with? Do you guys know? Does anybody know that? I heard this from a very reliable source, and look, I haven't even looked it up. I heard this at the dinner last night, but I haven't looked it up. That he's apparently sharing a cell with Sam Bankman-Fried of the sort of cryptocurrency, infamy. Now, why is Sam Bankman-Fried not in jail or prison, and why is he still like where he is? And it's interesting because I think Diddy would be considered a violent criminal. I think so. And he was but Sam Bankman-Fried would be white collar. So it's interesting that they're together, but I guess they're together because it's high profile, right? Let me just look that up. Let me look it up. I'm just going to see Diddy, Sam. Yeah. Yeah. Sean Diddy Combs moved to the same section, not the same cell, same section of New York City jail, housing Sam Bankman-Fried. Diddy and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried are sharing a dorm-style room in the Brooklyn jail. So they are. Wow, isn't that crazy? Here's the new accuser, and it's tough. We're not going to listen to all of it, but here's a bit of it.
Yes. The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. It's a pain that reaches into your very core of who you are and leaving emotional scars that may never fully heal.
She is the hardest part. Saying basically what the accusers all say, that this will live for them for the rest of their lives, and that it is obviously awful what has happened to them, and they want justice. They are seeking justice, and if he is indeed guilty of doing what they allege, then they should get some justice. Chappell Roan is I said that she popped fame like all of a sudden within just the last couple of years, and really the last couple of months. She had maybe the album of the summer or the song of the summer. I think that They Not Like Us was the song of the summer, but that Hot to Go song was a very hot song this summer. And Pink Pony Club, blah, blah, blah. That was one as well. So Chappell Roan is explaining her politics and why she said that, that both parties were bad and both parties had issues, and that she was, just keenly focused right now on trans issues. But she wanted to make clear why she wasn't going to endorse any candidate, but she also made it clear that she wasn't going to support Donald Trump.
Learn about what they're voting for, learn about who they're voting for, and ask questions. And it's being completely taken out of context. per usual. There is nuance to what I say in interviews. And I think it's important that people use critical thinking. I think it's important for me to question authority and question world leaders and question myself, question my algorithm, question if some person that tweeted something about someone else is even true. It's important to question because that's how I think we move forward. This is my third election in voting, and the world is changing so rapidly, and I want to be part of the generation that changes things for good because we need it. If you come to my shows, if you read my full interviews, if you literally know anything about me and for what I stand for, you know that this is not lip service, this is not virtue signaling, that my actions have always paved the way for my project and the people who really know me. Actions speak louder than words, and actions speak louder than an endorsement. Here's the full quote that a lot of people are just not reading. I have so many issues with our government in every way, she says. There are so many things that I would want to change, so I don't feel pressured to endorse someone. There's problems on both sides, and I encourage people to use your critical thinking skills. Use your vote. Vote small. Vote for what's going on in your city. The change she wants to see in the U.S. is this election year, she says, instantly is trans rights. They cannot have cis people making decisions for trans people, period. So, hearing from my mouth, if you're still wondering, no, I'm not voting for Trump. And yes, I will always question those in power and those making decisions over other people. And I will stand up for what's right and what I believe in. And like, it's always up.
Okay. Here's the thing. Now, she's a young woman. I don't want to go too hard on her. And she's right. There's nuance to everything. We live in a time now where no one believes in nuance. That either you have to be A or B, right? And way over here. So I get her, and I'm with you that Chappell Roan. And you're free to your own opinion to say whatever you want to say, right? And you don't have to endorse anyone. But I think that she should know what she's talking about when she says in this time that we're in right now, which is so critical, especially to women's rights, to the rights of LGBTQ plus trans people, as she says, she's keenly focused on that. There's only one party. And there's only one person in this race who's supporting all of those things that you support, who are going to the mat and actually losing some support among independents and more moderate people. And that is Kamala Harris and Democrats. So I'm just saying, if you're going to say all of those things, then you should know, especially in this time. And I believe that look, my number one issue for me is women's reproductive rights. And that is because of the Supreme Court. That's my number one issue. It's not my only issue, but that's my number one issue. And so I believe that everyone should have a right to be able to do with their bodies what they want, and everyone should have equal rights as it relates to that. So far, women don't have equal rights when it comes to that. And why is that happening? Because of the people we have on the Supreme Court, and because of the person we had in the office who put those people on the Supreme Court, okay? Who nominated and then had the folks put them on the Supreme Court, right? So she should know what someone like that creepy guy DeAngelis is saying about being indoctrinated into the LGBTQ plus, right? Instead of the ABCs. He is speaking out against LGBTQ plus rights. You should should know what Donald Trump says on the campaign trail and what he proposes to do with trans people and LGBTQ plus rights. You should hear what John McEntee, who I just discussed, what he says about describe what a woman is and LGBTQ plus rights. You should understand what Mark Robinson in North Carolina, who's the lieutenant governor, wants to be the governor, that he says that it is an abomination and that it is sinful and whatever else he believes it should happen to LGBTQ plus people. So it's not just as simple as this sort of, oh, look, kumbaya, everything, I can't, you got to do your thing and you have to do. No. You got to know what you're talking about. And you have to understand the time that we're in. And there are only two choices right now. Some issues are all issues are important to, I can't say that there are issues that are, because some issues are important to some people and some issues are, take priority or whatever, or what else over other people. But you also have to think about what's happening in America. Now, I support my Jewish brothers and sisters, and I support my Palestinian brothers and sisters, but I'm going to do everything I can to support them, but I don't live there. I live in America, and I know the country that I live in, that women don't have rights. And in order for me to go and to be able to fight, and LGBTQ plus people's rights are on the line, for me to be able to go and have the authority and the autonomy and the real privilege of being able to go and fight for other people's equal rights around the country, around the world, I should say, that I have to have that in my own country. Because if I lose it in my own country, then how am I going to go help somebody else somewhere else? So I need to pay attention to the issues that are in front of me and the people who are closest to me and the people who are dealing with things in America. Because we are the greatest democracy and the richest country on earth. And then when we secure that here, we have to secure that here to make sure that we can fight for the people, the Palestinians in Gaza, fight for our Israeli and Jewish brothers and sisters. That's what we have to do. If you actually believe, because she said, I believe in, she said something about Palestine or whatever. Then if you believe in that, then you must believe in fighting for the right ideals in America and voting the people in who support those ideals here. You don't vote anywhere else. You vote in America. And that doesn't mean I'm not against getting the, oh, can't you believe you're anti-Palestinian? No, I'm not. I'm pro all of those. But I'm also pro-democracy, and I'm also pro-reality, and I'm hey, come on, let's be real. I'm an old man. I have wisdom. I'm an older man of a certain age. I'm not an old man. But I have wisdom. I've been around. I know. If you don't have it here, you ain't going to have it anywhere else. Your parents would say stuff, and you'd be like, well, I don't know. Why do you? And then all of a sudden you get a certain age, you go, man, mama was right. Daddy was right. Come on, Chappell. Come on now. Okay, so we've been speaking about Mark Robinson, what he's saying about trans people and all this, and LGBTQ plus people, and that he's just a gross individual. So all the trouble he's in North Carolina, right? So this is I'm going to leave you with something fun because we've had such heavy stuff today. This is him. This is someone on the internet, right, who says, who's pretending to be Mark Robinson's campaign manager or spokesperson at this point. And watch this. You'll enjoy it.
Y'all got questions, so let's hear them.
Okay, I'll go first. Why is your hair wet?
'Cause I fell in a drainage ditch, stupid.
Hi, why did he refer to himself as a, quote, perv?
Well, first of all, it's 'cause he is a perv. He is a person everyone really values. That's a perv.
Hi, I'm Daphne, Tits Magazine. Why did he refer to himself as a black Nazi?
If Dr. Martin Luther King could hear you now, he would spit. Because I, for one, believe that in this country, a black African-American of color can be anything. Even white.
Hi, Harry from Bon Appetit. If your candidate hates transgender people, why was he watching transgender porn?
That's called doing research, honey. He read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and he said, I gotta know my enemy. So he dove in, and he really got in there.
What are you drinking?
Well, it's not juice, I'll tell you that.
So what is it?
It's a vodka soda.
Why are you drinking a vodka
Because I'm
soda?
allergic to juice. The bottom line is, Mark Robinson is a Christian, and he knows that you gotta sometimes you gotta be tempted by the fruit to know that you don't want the fruit. Sometimes you enjoy the fruit, but you know that the fruit is no good. The fruit is bad fruit. You can't have the fruit. And sometimes it's about admiring blessings. Sometimes you want to just log on and you want to look at what God has made, kind of God's big throbbing juicy blessings.
You're a genius. I love that. That is hilarious. And you know what? It's funny, but it's not far off on what people do. I mean, you saw the Live at 5 a couple of day before yesterday. People make excuses for anything, and I think those excuses are just as legit as some of the crap that I hear so-called mainstream people come up, right? So MAGA supporters. And you're like, really? Did you just say that? Did you just say that? So that's funny. I'm in the comments, and I'm so happy because I have been reading them, guys. Sherry Castellian says, if we lose democracy, we cannot change anyone's rights. That is what we need to recognize. Vote blue. It's our only option at this time in history. I'm just telling you. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. Such good stuff today, Don, says Chris Butler. Thank you very much. Gwendolyn Douglas says exactly 100%. Tisha says she has a lack of discernment. Yes, and that comes, she's young. So I want to just give her the benefit of the doubt, but you should know she has meaning Chappell Roan, she's got a big audience and she has a lot of sway. You may not know about her, but these young folks, these influencers, these younger folks who are in music that you may not know about, they have a huge sway. They're not paying attention to me or you. They're paying attention to the young people, just like you were when you were young. And your parents were like, who is that? Who is that hip hop? Who's that whatever rapper? And you're like, oh, that's whatever. Now these people are old. So, yeah. Jacob H says, Chappell Roan, stand your ground, girl. Yeah, stand your ground, but know what you're talking about. Understand the time that we're in. Ava Jordan says, amen, Don. Charity starts at home and spreads abroad. And Pamela Lee says, please hit the like button. I agree with you, Pamela Lee. Hit the like button. So that is where we're going to leave it today. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to see you at 5 o'clock live. Make sure you join. Sunny Hostin's there. Sunny Hostin's going to be there. Sunny Hostin from The View is going to be on at 5. And she is the master of hot topics. Okay? I hope you have the book. I actually started rereading it again last night, and I was like, this is so juicy. Make sure you go and get it if you haven't. And if you have, in the comments, will you tell me what you think about it? Thank you. I am old, Don. Someone, Twana Ware says, thank you. I'm old. So we already talked about Marcellus Williams, Dolly. I guess Dolly was asking if we were going to talk about Marcellus Williams. We did that at the top of the show. So I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America. Make sure you go out and get it. And also pretty soon, we're going to have, not only do we have Sonny Hosta, but we're going to have D.L. Hughley. He's going to be on pretty soon. Okay. Thanks, Don. I feel protected now, says Ann Oversweet Street. Thank you. Okay, guys, great day. Make sure to tune into Live at 5 and also watch yesterday, the Live at 5. You will enjoy. It is about voting rights. Okay? I'll see you at 5 o'clock live. Bye.